Part 4 of Les Morte d'Arthur by Sir Thomas Malory, pages 257 to 259. Previously, Mordred, Arthur's son, creates false letters claiming that Arthur died in battle against Lancelot in France and has himself declared king. He also attempts to marry Queen Guinevere, but she retreats to the Tower of London, and the Archbishop of Canterbury rebukes and excommunicates Mordred. King Arthur returns and battles Mordred's armies, pushing him back from Dover. Lastly, Gawain's head wound has reopened. On his deathbed, he writes to Sir Lancelot to ask him to visit his tomb and come to help King Arthur. Part 4, page 257. Then the news reached Arthur that Sir Mordred offered him battle on the field at Barren Down. Arthur hastened there with his army. They fought, and Sir Mordred fled once more, this time to Canterbury. When King Arthur had begun the search for his wounded and dead, many volunteers from all parts of the country came to fight under his flag, convinced now of the rightness of his cause. Arthur marched westward, and Sir Mordred came once more offered him battle. It was assigned for the Monday following Trinity Sunday on Salisbury Down. Sir Mordred levied fresh troops from East Anglia and the places about London, and fresh volunteers came forward to help Arthur. Then, on the night of Trinity Sunday, Arthur was vouchsafed a strange dream. He was apparelled in gold cloth and seated in a chair which stood on a pivoted scaffold. Below him, many fathoms deep, was a dark well, and in the water swam serpents, dragons, and wild beasts. Suddenly the scaffold tilted, and Arthur was flung into the water, where all the creatures struggled toward him and began tearing him limb from limb. Arthur cried out in his sleep, and his squires hastened to waken him. Later, as he lay between waking and sleeping, he thought he saw Sir Gawain, and with him a host of beautiful noblewomen. Arthur spoke. "My sister's son, I thought you had died, but now I see you live. And I thank the Lord Jesu. I pray you tell me, who are these ladies?" "My lord, these are the ladies I championed in righteous quarrels when I was on earth. Our Lord God has vouchsafed that we visit you and plead with you not to give battle to Sir Mordred tomorrow. For if you do, not only will you yourself be killed, but all your noble followers too. We beg you to be warned and to make a treaty with Sir Mordred, calling a truce for a month, and granting him whatever terms he may demand. In a month Sir Lancelot will be here, and he will defeat Sir Mordred." Thereupon Sir Gawain and the ladies vanished, and King Arthur once more summoned his squires and his counselors and told them his vision. Sir Lucas and Sir Bedivere were commissioned to make a treaty with Sir Mordred. They were to be accompanied by 2 bishops, and to grant within reason whatever terms he demanded. The ambassadors found Sir Mordred in a command of an army of 100,000 and unwilling to listen to overtures of peace. However, the ambassadors eventually prevailed on him, and in return for the truce granted him suzerainty of Cornwall and Kent, and succession to the British throne when King Arthur died. The treaty was to be signed by King Arthur and Sir Mordred the next day. They were to meet between the 2 armies, and each was to be accompanied by no more than 14 knights. Both King Arthur and Sir Mordred suspected the other of treachery, and gave orders for their armies to attack at the sight of a naked sword. When they met at the appointed place, the treaty was signed, and both drank a glass of wine. Then, by chance, one of the soldiers was bitten in the foot by an adder, which had lain concealed in the brush. The soldier unthinkingly drew his sword to kill it, and at once, as the sword flashed in the light, the alarms were given, trumpets sounded, and both armies galloped into the attack. "Alas for this fateful day!" exclaimed King Arthur, as both he and Sir Mordred hastily mounted and galloped back to their armies. There followed one of those rare and heartless battles in which both armies fought until they were destroyed. King Arthur, with his customary valor, led squadron after squadron of cavalry into the attack, and Sir Mordred encountered him unflinchingly. As the number of dead and wounded mounted on both sides, the active combatants continued dauntless until nightfall, when 4 men alone survived. King Arthur wept with dismay to see his beloved followers fallen. Then, struggling toward him, unhorsed and badly wounded, he saw Sir Lucas the butler and his brother Sir Bedivere. "Alas," said the king, "that the day should come when I see all my noble knights destroyed. I would prefer that I myself had fallen, but what has become of the traitor Sir Mordred, whose evil ambition was responsible for all this carnage?" Looking about him, King Arthur then noticed Sir Mordred leaning with his sword on a heap of the dead. "Sir Lucas, I pray you give me my spear, for I have seen Sir Mordred." "Sire, I entreat you, remember your vision, how Sir Gawain appeared with a heaven-sent message to dissuade you from fighting Sir Mordred. Allow this fateful day to pass. It is ours, for we 3 hold the field while the enemy is broken." "My lords, I care nothing for my life now, and while Sir Mordred is at large, I must kill him. There may not be another chance." "God speed you then," said Sir Bedivere. When Sir Mordred saw King Arthur advance with his spear, he rushed to meet him with drawn sword. Arthur caught Sir Mordred below the shield and drove his spear through his body. Sir Mordred, knowing that his wound was mortal, thrust himself up to the handle of the spear, then, brandishing his sword in both hands, struck Arthur on the side of the helmet, cutting through it and into the skull beneath. Then he crashed to the ground, gruesome and dead. King Arthur fainted many times as Sir Lucas and Sir Bedivere struggled with him to a small chapel nearby, where they managed to ease his wounds a little. When Arthur came to, he thought he heard cries coming from the battlefield. "Lucas, I pray you find out who cries on the battlefield," he said. Wounded as he was, Sir Lucas hobbled painfully to the field, and there in the moonlight saw the camp followers stealing gold and jewels from the dead and murdering the wounded. He returned to the king and reported what he had seen, and then added, "My lord, it surely would be better to move you to the nearest town. My wound forbids it, but alas for the good Sir Lancelot, how sadly I have missed him today. And now I must die, as Sir Gawain warned me I would, repenting our quarrel with my last breath." Sir Lucas and Sir Bedivere made one further attempt to lift the king. He fainted as they did so. Then Sir Lucas fainted as part of his intestines broke through a wound in his stomach. When the king came to, he saw Sir Lucas lying dead with foam at his mouth. "Sweet Jesu, give him succor," he said. "This noble knight has died trying to save my life. Alas, that this was so." Le Morte d'Arthur, page 259, end of part 4.